exciting edition of Studio Synergy Live. This is episode 7. And I am joined today. I have 3 guests at the moment. There's always people that pop up. Keith Smith.
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Taurus, and I like long walks, and I started off, as Pete will know, as an inker in the industry, and assisted Pete for I don't know, what, about 2 years, year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
And I moved off, started doing some stuff on my own. Moved into graphic and web design, and now I actually have moved back over to comics, where I'm publishing 2 books coming out in October. So we're going to be at New York Comic Con with 2 Zero issues.
Let me ask you, do you have a YouTube video playing? Somebody's got.
I don't know, what, about 2 years?
I'm hearing.
Your video?
I don't see anything on my screen.
I can see nothing.
I only got 1 tab open.
Because I'm hearing the past.
I do. I am hearing the past.
An echo from a distant future.
Let's see. I muted Keith, and Keith, I think you have a video open somewhere. We'll move on to Kristen.
Hello, hello.
Hey, welcome.
Good to be back. Hopefully I won't be as disruptive as I was last time with the microphone. I think I finally got everything figured out, so we're good.
Awesome. Yeah, you're working on a bug.
Yes, I kind of go through spurts where I like to draw like different motifs or certain things, and lately I've been drawing a lot of insects and mosquitoes and whatnot. So I figured, hey, I guess this is a lot more interesting to look at than just having my ugly mug on the screen. So there you go.
Well, the design of the show is like actually people working on stuff while we chit chat. So.
Yeah, eventually.
You're actually doing it right.
Yeah, but eventually I'm gonna try doing traditional too. The only thing though is that I don't have a good enough camera for it. But I work primarily analog style.
Right. I don't think it picks it up as well. I mean,
yeah,
that's
so I've
something we
heard.
still have to figure out, but digital is best, as I tell peoples. And we have Scott with us again. Hey, Scott.
Hey, I'm Scott Serklin. My website is Serkworks, SERKWORKS, and I do robots, aliens, zombies, and other imminent threats to humanity. I'm also, if you guys are following the 100 Days of Making Comics, I'm working on a comic book called Young and the Dead, and it's like a cross between Goonies and Night of the Living Dead. So it's like kids versus zombies, and right now I'm probably only going to be here for probably another half hour because I'm going to get my kids up and we're going to go to an early showing of Guardians of the Galaxy because I haven't seen it yet, and I want to avoid spoilers, so I want to see it sooner rather than later. And I'll switch over to what I'm working on, but I'm working on a little Star-Lord cartoon right now, so
Awesome.
in preparation.
Yeah, I saw it. I loved the ending when. No, I won't say it.
Thanks.
Let's see. Keith, did you get your issues worked out? I think you can unmute yourself because I don't have the ability. If you go up top and hit the microphone.
Yeah, I was actually on a different screen, but yeah. As soon as you muted me, I had already closed that window.
Okay. There is a if anybody wants to communicate, there is a chat that you can type into and I can see messages. So if you're ever muted and you want to tell me something.
Isn't there also that thing where you can kind of plug yourself in your website?
Well, the showcase, but it. To my knowledge, it only shows up if people go to the event page on G+. So I don't see the advantage of that.
Yeah.
When I'm after the video is up, I put in everybody's URLs. If you look at it later and it's not the URL you want in the video, then I'll correct it. So.
Do you mind maybe if I add I started a blog actually about the zine and the comic that I'm working on?
Yeah.
So I'll send you the link later. It's I Swallowed a Fly at Blogspot.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Sure. Keith, do you have your website up, or do you have a URL for it?
Yeah, the URL is www.colossalarts.com, spelled COLOSSALARTS. We're hoping to have it complete this week. I'm waiting on some art for the slider and for the widgets. So once we have those, I can put it right up.
Damn those widgets.
Damn widgets get in the way all the time.
And Scott is at circleworks.com. He's busy drawing.
Yes. Oh, I didn't know. Yes. I didn't know if you wanted me to confirm that.
I'm getting that interview with Scott up today onto my Independent Road podcast.
Oh, cool.
So people can listen to Scott all over the place.
I'm anxious to hear how that came out. I think it came out pretty good.
Yeah.
Really a first interview I've done, so a podcast anyway.
Yeah, it was fun.
Speaking about interviews, I gotta find some people to interview for the zine that I'm trying to make.
You want to put up the call?
Yeah, sure. If anyone wants to be interviewed for that, I'm basically open to pretty much anything. I mean, it's the first issue, so it's not like it's going to reach many people, and it's a zine, like an independent publication thing. So, but hey, if anyone's interested, contact me.
What is the zine about?
It's mostly a mixture of mini comics, but it's also a bit on contemplations and also different artists and whatnot. I'm still having it's called I Swallowed a Fly, and we're still on the first issue, right? And I say we, like there's someone else. No, it's just me. But it's still on the first issue right now, but I'm probably going to make it grow, but right now it's mainly just weird, bizarre, like mini comics, but I also figured I'd have a few interviews to get other people's work out there.
So is that different from the blog? Because you mentioned the blog called I Swallowed the Fly. Is that...
It's pretty much... I've kind of used that name for a few things, because originally it was going to be a webcomic, and I figured I'd post it there. And I still plan on possibly making it a webcomic. I just want to make a few issues of a zine out first. But the blog is mainly just to add different things on all the projects that I'm working on, like including Prisoner Cinema and things like that. But I figured if I have one title that people know, then it would be easy to just Google search my name or the title and find everything.
Yeah, that's what I always tell people. If you can get one banner to put everything under, then it's easier for people to find you. Because I know people that on every single different social media, there's something different. So it's hard to keep track of them.
Yeah.
Well, in that sense, maybe they're trying to reach different audiences.
That could be.
This is Scott drawing. It doesn't.
You can't, yeah. I work real light, so you probably won't be able to see what's going on until I get to inks, which I might not today. You can kind of see the mask a little bit here. Again, that's Star-Lord. It's kind of hard to see.
You'll have to use your imagination.
Yeah. So I don't. If I can, after I get back from the movie, if if you guys are recording the other podcast. Am I allowed to talk about that here? Are these aren't right? So yeah, I might try to finish it up there if I can, but that might be around lunchtime. I might have to, make lunch. I'll just have to see what's going on.
Right. Hey Keith, do you think you can get your what you're working on camera?
Absolutely. Doing it right this second. I've got Manga Studio open.
Manga Studio, I never heard of that.
It's this great tool. All the kids love it.
One of these days, I'm going to learn how to use that software.
Same here.
Yeah, don't let my discussing it mean that I actually know what I'm doing in it.
Oh, okay.
I'm much more comfortable in Photoshop, but
What version of Manga Studio are you using?
Oh man, I gotta look. Hold on. Oh, hold on. This whole two screens thing sometimes gets beyond me because my graphics tablet actually sits in front of my regular monitor, so it's like I look at both screens and I am on 5.0.3.
Okay. I was wondering if it was like 4 or 5 because I heard that 5 is a little closer to Photoshop. Is that true? Because I've got 4 and it just seemed way different, too different from Photoshop. So I heard when 5 was going to come out that it was going to be a little closer to the Photoshop interface. So I figured I'd wait for that and try to learn that one.
Yeah, it is very close to Photoshop. It still doesn't have like. I like to use background eraser a lot in Photoshop just to kind of clean stuff up quickly, and this doesn't, to my knowledge, have it. Maybe it does, and I'm just not smart enough to figure it out yet. But as far as the work goes, when I want to ink over someone who refuses to send me their original pencils, which is happening more and more these days, Manga Studio definitely works pretty well for the inking portion. I'm still working out the sensitivity on the brushes, but
yeah,
I'm here to learn as much as to do.
That's the main reason why I want Manga Studio is for the inking software. Because I've seen other people ink with it before, and it looks like it's really proficient in doing that.
I like it. It gets the job done, and it does do it well, but it definitely changes my style in that the little quirks that normally come from my hand doing it traditionally or in an analog sense, those are all gone when you start working in Manga Studio, and I kind of like those imperfections from doing it manually. So
make a good point.
I'm just trying to work it out to where I can try to make it look as much like me as possible.
It's what it is you can once you learn the program, you can ink a lot faster, and it does clean up your work, which some people like that. But it's to me it's like if I look at a bunch of different strips all done in Manga Studio, they all look kind of similar. Unless you really master it and use it beyond, just doing your strip fast, it does have that tendency to all the lines look similar, and it looks like it's all done by the same artist. So
I kind of would actually, Pete. That's probably a really good question to ask you about that. Do you think that we're losing something when we start working with digital tools as opposed to the analog tools that we used to?
Well, it's yes and no. I'm not against digital, but you have to be aware of its limitations as well as its advantages. And you know, if you put a if you fill up a room with 100 different artists, all inking the same page, you'll get 100 different variations, not necessarily 100 good ones. um, but like the thing that's been blatantly I'm aware of is, and I'm not really interested in inking with Manga Studio, but I will play around with it and maybe do some images. But as far as the comics, I'm going to do traditionally. But yeah, it's just like a lot of the line weights are very similar, and they're all smoothed out, which is advantages to the program. But you have to mix it up and add more of a touch to it. To me, it's a lot like computer coloring. You can look at 100 different comics, and they all look very similar, unless it's really a standout colorist who's been doing it for years. More than likely, it's the same old. It's just another coloring job that somebody was able to do in whatever 3 hours. A lot of people have the same techniques because that's what looks good, but you're not really standing out. You're not really moving away from the crowd, and it all becomes very mediocre.
Do you think it's possible that maybe the people that are using Manga Studio, or however you want to pronounce it, right? Maybe you're just not noticing that it's done in Manga Studio because they're able to do it well.
That there are anchors out there that use it really well, and I can't tell. Obviously, like in many ways, like show me the original art, and then obviously, with Manga Studio, nobody has the original art. But it's just you have to go above and beyond what the average person is doing with any program. If you really want to stand out, I mean that's up to you. If you just want to mix in with the crowd and fake people out, then by all means.
I think it's good if you do kind of like a happy medium, and you do maybe like intro pages to chapters and covers in digital. But since personally I like analog actually better than traditional, then I usually do actual pages, all analog style.
Right. Yeah. Most of my career I've been traditional, and the majority of what I do from here on, will still be that. I've always said, like, when I retire, I'm going to start painting, because I always want to like sit down and paint, but I'm too busy planning 20 years of me working on comics. So.
I recently realized how bad I am at acrylic. I need to get better at that. Cause I'm good at watercolor, but when it comes to acrylic, for whatever reason, the plastic texture of it, I just can't relate. Because I'm used to kind of gradually introducing tone and things like that. With acrylic, it's just kind of flat out color, and you have to mix everything. So I was trying to make these Moleskine kind of covers so that I want to sell on Etsy, kind of hand paint them. And I wound up messing up 2 of them already, and I have to go over them and hopefully salvage it. I'm like, wow, I really need practice in acrylic.
Yeah, nowadays, the only time I ever use acrylics is if I'm doing a mural or something, and that stuff's pretty kind of straightforward, flat, and it's easier for me to work large like that with acrylic. But if I had to do like something small, With acrylic, I would have problems with it, I think.
Mhm.
I don't know why that is.
I only have a small amount of experience painting in acrylic, and a lot of that was around, when I went to school decades ago. Um, but I loved it. But yeah, it's you really have to work with it and make it into something. Um, I think I like acrylic and I like watercolor a lot too. Um, Plan to eventually do some watercolor work.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, I do. It's been a while since I've used watercolor, but I do like it's a nice medium to work in.
There's a comic artist, David Mack. Um,
He's
yeah,
insane.
what's that?
He's insanely good. Like
Mhm.
I just I love the stuff he does, and I just have nothing but absolute respect for him.
I'll have to write
Yeah,
that down.
he's done a lot of Daredevil work, but his own creator own characters, Kabuki. Um, more than his work, his watercolor work and art. Um, his design and storytelling is unbelievable. If you ever pick up a couple of trades of Kabuki, highly recommend it. And he's a hell of a nice guy. He's always like, I see him at conventions everywhere, and he's always like, "Yeah, hey Pete, how's it going? What you been up to?" Like we're best friends. Um,
Damn, you're
even
right. I just Googled him now.
yeah.
I got to do it too.
There's probably like videos on YouTube with him. He has a DVD of his his work in process that you might be able to find somewhere online.
Oh wow, yeah.
But yeah, I I always liked watercolor. I never approached it seriously. Um, but yeah, I definitely plan to do something. Maybe some larger pieces. I did some like sketch cards with watercolor a couple years back. Whatever. Um, I just love the medium.
Watercolors are great. I just think that they're 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 all about very very fast decision making, and that's just not that's not where I'm from putting together an illustration. I like the ability to go back and rework it. So I'm definitely more of an oils guy myself
Hmm.
for painting. I love oils.
I'm just generally impulsive, so that's kind of a natural thing to make quick minute decisions, even though sometimes it comes back to bite me.
Yeah, oils is something that I could never get into just because the dry time and everything.
If you
See
want to
that?
hear, sorry, go on.
Okay, sorry, I was just gonna say that's what I like.
That's what you do like about it. Yeah, I could see. I mean, I definitely see the benefits, but I guess just because I came from a commercial art background, and you need to have everything done and deadlines and get it out the door. That
Yeah.
oils kind of never entered that equation.
But if you want to hear a story of my stupidity, one time I went to Michael's, and you know the artist loft paint that's really cheap and it's good for practice? Well, I saw this one really pretty shade of green, and I was like, whoa, I've never seen acrylics in this shade before, so I bought it. I got home, I didn't read the label or anything, I poured it out, and it was all thick and like goopy and stuff. And then I'm like, wait a second, this isn't acrylic, and I wound up buying oils on accident. So just for this one shade of green, I'm like, wow, that's really vibrant, and I didn't even bother to read the label. I just assumed it was acrylic.
Always read the label, folks.
Yeah,
Well, since
I was
you
young.
have worked with acrylic and watercolors. Kristen, have you ever used gouache at all?
Actually, no, not in my recent memory. I mean, isn't that kind of a cheaper paint?
No. Well, I don't know. No, I think it's actually usually more expensive than acrylic.
Oh,
Actually,
really? Okay,
it
then no,
usually
I
comes
don't
in
think
little
so.
smaller bottles and it goes a long way. I used to mess around with it. It's like an kind of almost like a cross between acrylic and watercolor. It's like an opaque kind of watercolor. But I've seen people that use it and they just do amazing stuff with it. And a lot of illustrators will like swear by it.
Yeah, I'll definitely try that out.
I'm not sure. Back in the day, when Acclaim was first big, like mid '90s, early '90s, they did all their comic book coloring by hand, and might have used gouache. I'm not even sure. Maybe different colors use different things, but I kind of think that that's what they were using.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I'll see if I have any that I can grab. Just to show it.
Gouache is actually a very, very nice paint. If not oil, I actually do like washing it. Washing. Yeah, I love washing myself in gouache because it's just no. It's I like painting with gouache, and I think it's because again you have that it straddles that line between being a watercolor and an acrylic, so you have a bit more time to work with it. It's easy to work over itself. I actually did two paintings for CBS back in '89 that were both totally gouache, and I think I was able to spend about 36 hours on each. So that was I like gouache.
Yeah. I don't know if you can tell. I mean, it kind of looks like
Okay.
a paint, but this is old, so it may have changed. I don't know how old this stuff is. But yeah, there's a couple different brands. But yeah, it comes in a small little tube, but a little goes a long way. I'm doing this Star-Lord pose, or this piece here, this fan art, and his jacket has a lot of detail in it. His whole costume does. I was surprised. I didn't realize that when I started it.
Yeah, it's not like Star-Lord's old costume.
Yeah, and I like most people, I'm not as familiar with Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's like one of those things. Like, well, when they announced they were making it, I was like, what? I mean, I remember like Rocket Raccoon because I actually had the Mike Mignola series. That was some of his first stuff, and so I remember that, but I wasn't too familiar with with the rest of the Guardians of the Galaxy. So
Yeah, they kind of like they were around for a while and then they disappeared and they brought them back. Um, I was around when I was reading Marvel books when they originally brought them around, and the first time I saw Star-Lord, and I think it was his first appearance, it was a graphic novel done by John Byrne, and it was in black and white, inked by Terry Austin, and it was just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. It was probably the tightest John Byrne ever was, and I there are times when stuff just looks better in black and white, and that definitely was one of them. Um, and it was a totally different entity back when for Guardians of the Galaxy. They were not the gang we see now.
yeah, I'll have to check that out because that was like the first artist that I really noticed was John Byrne because I started the first comic book I ever collected was Alpha Flight, and he was the artist on that when it first started off. So,
Right.
and then after
Yeah.
that, Mike Mignola took over.
Yeah, Burns had a long career, and he's done so many different books. At one point he was doing like at least two books a month. For an artist, that's a lot.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I couldn't see two. Well, it takes me forever. It takes me a year to put out an issue practically.
So, has anybody had any artistic challenges of late?
I was kind of going through an art block yesterday, and again, the whole debacle with the acrylic kind of set me back. But lately, it's just been trying to get as much pages out there as I can, since I haven't, like, I'm kind of bad. I abandon a lot of projects, and I'm trying not to do that again. I guess that's one of the plights of being like a novice or a beginner, is that you have so many ideas that you just like you want them to exist, you want all of them to exist, but you wind up like creating or attempting to create so many that absolutely none of them get done. So that's kind of what I've been like kind of faced with, I guess, the past few years actually. That's been one of the biggest downfalls that I've had. So it's really just like kind of sticking to something and like getting commitment issues with art out of the way and just saying I'm gonna finish this even if it kills me, kind of thing.
I think that that's a plight for anyone creative, because I know seasoned professionals that they got their hands in too many things. I'm one of them. And it just comes down to, if you really want to see any of your projects through, you have to see it through.
Hmm.
And if you got a couple of ideas going, that's fine, but eventually you're gonna have to focus all your attention on one of them and get it done in order to lighten your load.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think, Keith?
I think you're right. I think I mean I'm definitely one who likes to jump on a lot of projects, and especially when I'm inking, I still to this day will jump around from page to page because I generally tend to get bored really quick. Um,
I do that all the time.
yeah, and it's not a bad thing so long as you realize that what you're, you know, why you're doing it or what you're doing it for, and if it's because you want to keep yourself energized or focused. If you run into a problem on one piece, sometimes I find it's easier to think about that problem while I'm actually working on something else. But I keep a whiteboard because I have the world's worst memory. I keep a whiteboard with exactly what I have to get done and when it needs to get done by, right near my studio area, so that I don't let myself distract myself too much, if that makes sense.
I should start doing that.
Yeah, I personally I try to keep a list. Like, I have an online program I use. It's called Trello. And let me go to it.
Yeah, I've used that before. There's a client that I
It's
have.
awesome. Yes, Scott.
I was just going to say I've used that Trello before.
Yeah. It's like a bulletin board. You can set up different boards, different items on each board, and then it goes like a list goes down, and you could post pictures to it or text or even video, and you could use it 1,000 different ways, and it takes a little while to just get comfortable with the program, but it's Trello, and it's amazing. And you can also like share it with other people. So like say you and some other people are working on a comic book. So you have a writer, a penciler, an inker, and so on and so forth. You could actually share the board with everybody involved and post everybody's progress, and it will be updated for everybody.
Now, do they get those updates via email, or do they have to go to the site?
No, it's they have to go to the site. I mean, for you to do anything, it's basically it's online. So once you open your browser, I always have mine, pinned in my browser. So I check it every morning. I do updates. I say, I have a list of everybody I want to invite onto my podcast. So I delete everybody I already interviewed. So it's just an easy way for me to keep tabs of what the hell I'm doing.
See, that would be the one thing. If it was a desktop
But
app,
yeah,
it would be good. But if I have to actually go to the website, I'll forget.
there might be. I just don't do desktop stuff. It might be an option. If not this one, then there's probably other versions of this. But yeah, I do that for myself, as well as I just get a piece of copy paper and post it in front of me on my wall, because my desk or art table always faces the wall, so I always keep a piece of paper with what I should get done this week in front of me. What do you do, Scott?
Well, I had to kind of train myself to try to focus on one project because I naturally I'm like that where I just want to switch from one thing to another, and I got to the point where I wasn't finishing anything. But one of the things that helps is because I do a lot of freelance stuff, so that kind of breaks up between my project, and so it's usually the amount of time I get to put on my own particular project, meaning my comic book, is so I guess so limited that I don't get too bored with it. And I also do. I mean, I've got two kind of personal pet projects that I do, and one is my prints, which are kind of sci-fi, retro future based. They have that kind of a look to them, and then my comic book, which is kind of your, I say traditional, but everyone's got their own kind of unique style. But pen and ink comic book style work, and the other stuff is done in Illustrator and a little bit in Photoshop. So between those two things, I don't get too bored, and I just kind of even those out as much. Right now, I'm more focused on the comic book, but around when convention season rolls back around, then hopefully my book will be done, and I'll go back to doing some more prints and things. But yeah, naturally, I'm just I've got tons of different ideas that I want to get to, and so now if I get an idea, I'll just jot it down, and whether I ever get to it or not, I don't know. But it's hard, man. It's amazing that people like I don't know, somebody like an Eric Larson who does Savage Dragon, and that's all he does, and he keeps doing it, or like like The Walking Dead, where there's no end planned. It's just Kirkman's just going to keep doing that as far as he knows forever. So yeah, the people that can do that amazes me. I mean, once I get done with this particular storyline, I'll probably move on to something else, and I don't know if I'll come back to it. I may, but I just try to focus on one thing at a time if I can.
Yeah, I mean, like when I get artistic block, it's usually because I'm in a state of overwhelm.
Yeah.
Which sounds like the opposite, but like it's just like it's too much things to do. What should I work on? I don't know, But if you work on one thing, the advantage to that, and this is the way I used to work, is that you wake up every morning knowing exactly what you're going to do that day. and back when I was just an inker. It's like I got pages, I got work. I know what to do. It's I wouldn't say it's brainless, because everything you do you contribute brain power to. But it's sort of like it's just easier because you're not distracted. You're focused. I focused all my energy on doing the same thing every day, and it could become boring but I focused all my energy on improving with every line I put down, trying to explore new techniques and just get better, get better, get better, you know, which never got boring for me. So
Yeah. Hey, I'm probably what I'm gonna do is mute my video and just go about and start getting stuff ready to get to this movie. And in between I might pop back in and out, but I'll be listening to you guys where I'm kind of running around getting stuff ready. So.
okay, man.
All right.
All right, and I'll see if I can get a chance to do the Artcasters one too, but we'll just have to see. So I don't know if you can see what I got so far. That's about, like I said, I do everything kind of light, but that's my Star-Lord. So maybe I'll get to finish them on the next Artcast, or I'll just post them to my website when I'm done. So, like I said, I'll be listening.
Cool, man.
And I might pop back in here and there.
Have a good time at the movies.
Thanks.
Enjoy it.
So, Keith, how's it going with like getting ready for New York Comic Con?
Well, you know, I had a plan, and I have stuck to my plan. But you know, it just seems like working with a team of people and being on the business side of it has changed things a little bit, because now I find, rather than people chasing after me for work that, you know, is due soon, I'm chasing after people for work that's due soon. And you know, we've had a couple of speed bumps in the road with deadlines that were missed. You know, a couple of our pencilers had to be replaced. So we're working with some new artists now, and it's stressful because if everything goes perfect to plan, the new plan, we'll be fine. But if one thing goes wrong, I can definitely see showing up at Comic-Con with a lot of pages, but no book, and that's not something I'm entertaining as a thought.
So
Wait,
you're doing finished books?
We're doing a flip 0 issue page stories,
Okay.
you know, for each book, and then 8 pages of sketch material and, you know, bio, who are we, why should you care, kind of stuff.
Supersized ash can.
Well, it's going to be a full-size comic. Yeah, but it's I mean, we're putting full production value into it. I've got Rich Parada on pencils for one, Mark Savona doing pencils for another. I've got Tom Chu on colors,
Cool.
Chris Johnson on letters. So I've got a great team in place, but with the 2 pencilers who were unable to fulfill their commitment, it put us behind. So
Yeah.
But do you know what? Sorry to interrupt, but do you know what table you're going to be at for Comic-Con? Because I'm going to that on Saturday and Sunday. Actually, no, Friday and then Sunday.
it's actually, I think it's in the blue section, and it's like all the way in the far back on the right. We're hidden very well.
I shall find you.
That's where Artist Alley was, right? At some point.
You mean like 10 years ago?
Well, last time I was there was 2006, so it's been a while.
Yeah, I actually don't remember 2006. I know now Artist Alley is all the way on a different side of the building, but this is still on the main floor. We're actually sharing booth space. It's a double booth, and we're sharing it with a buddy of mine who has a business called Photoplex, and he's doing comic book backgrounds, green screen photographs of people. So we're yeah. So it's kind of weird. He's going to have some celebrity guests there, so we're hoping that that'll drive some traffic and help build some interest. But you know, we've been doing pretty well as far as generating a buzz. I'm working on the merchandising aspect of it now, at the very least, just to get a basic set of T-shirts ready to go, so that people can buy it through the website, not at the show, but through the website. Um, and yeah, I mean, things are going well. I just got the new character designs in from one of the new pencilers this morning, and it's looking great. I know Rich has already laid out all 8 pages of his story, and he's going to final pencils and inks now. So,
Yeah, Rich showed me some work behind the scenes he's working on.
Yeah, that's a different book, but looks good. I mean, I'm excited to see what he's gonna produce, on our pages.
I should ask you now, because you're impossible to get a hold of. If you ever want to come on the podcast, I'd love to have you on.
I'm not impossible. You have my phone number. Yeah, I would love to go on the podcast. That would be great.
It's like with technology, I rarely call people. I usually message them first.
Yeah, I've had to tell people that just because Facebook is a place where everybody goes, it's really not the first line for me. Especially if I'm trying to get work done, I will shut down Facebook for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, so that I can focus on stuff.
All right, I'll just give you a call.
Yeah. I'm here. I'll always pick up your phone calls, even if I'm working. But Aunt Matilda, I am not calling you back. Just letting you know if you're watching this.
Yeah, since that, wild night, I remember. I'm just making stuff up. Okay.
Yeah, me too. I don't have an Aunt Matilda.
You ever get when you were younger with your parents, whenever they come up and say, like, all you do is draw in your room, and you're like, you don't understand, I need to get this done. They always expect you. It's like, you should come outside once in a while. It's like, but I need to finish this.
I still get that from my wife and kids now. We never see you. You're always working. You're always drawing. You're always. I'm like, I'm building something here, people. This is going to be great.
We moved into this place and we set up the extra bedroom as half mine and half Lisa's, and she complains that I kick her out all the time. And because I'm podcasting, I'm doing hangouts, I got to work in quiet.
I would just tell her to take it.
I said, sleeping in a house with 3 rooms, one where you could have an extra room, and where I could have my own room, because I just need more space, and I need my time alone to work and get things done.
It's important. It's important to have that space, a way to focus. I took over what was the 3rd bedroom or guest bedroom in our house, which is where my wife's family, who all live in England, when they come over, they would sleep here and sleep in this room. Well, they only come over once or twice a year, so, I balanced it on, why would I want to give up all of this room for, twice yearly usage?
Yeah.
They can stay in a hotel. And I'm in this room every day, 20 hours a day, so now I'm actually getting use out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm far more productive.
Yep, that's what it comes down to. I would love, down the line, when I could afford it, to, even if it's for a couple of months, just get an office outside the house, just so I, feel like I'm getting out of the house. Outside of work, I get out, but feels like most of my time is spent in this room, in this virtual room of my mind.
You know, it is true. Even the company that I do design work for, you know, they don't have a centralized office. It's all a virtual office, and our corporate address is some post office box in Tabernacle, Colorado. Uh, but I've never seen the person who I work for. We talk over Hangouts. We talk over uh, you know, regular Google Chat, but everybody works out of their own home office. So, you know, I've just taken it upon myself to sometimes run over to Dunkin' Donuts and set up shop there and try to get stuff done.
Yeah, I thought of I need to get to the what you would call it, the library. Just like go there every day in the morning for a couple of hours for 1 week, just
Yep.
to change things up. And also, it's good promotion because people always eventually ask me, "What are you doing? What are you working on?"
In my library, they have these cubby holes like all the way in the back. I always find the farthest one in the corner where no one can see me. But that's a good idea, though. I never really thought of marketing at a library before.
Oh yeah, you know, bring business cards or just anything.
Well, if
You
you're
know.
so curious, here you go.
Check out my Etsy page.
Yeah. Then again, I'm not sure if a lot of the stuff that I draw would be any attention to middle-aged people at the library. This child is disturbed.
Well, that's the thing. You never know what
Yeah,
people
true.
like. You know, you never know. I'm surprised a lot of times. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely excellent. I mean, library, of course, is endless amounts of research material and stuff you get to see in person. I mean, you can, you know, spend years online looking at stuff and still never see everything, but a library is something about picking up art books and just flipping through them.
Hmm.
It's that special feeling.
I gotcha.
I love the smell of paper.
I love the smell of napalm in the morning. Hey Pete, when you're working with Manga Studio,
Yes.
do you work with a digital tablet, or are you working with like a Wacom Intuos or a Bamboo?
No, just I got a mouse. You know, I'm not doing anything fancy at the moment.
Okay.
I'm using it to letter my comics at the moment. Eventually color, but I'm not going to do anything highly difficult.
Right.
You know, I'm sort of thinking lines of like the kind of coloring you would see in an anime is as extreme as I'll get.
Right.
Um, but eventually, I will get a something, some kind of tablet or something.
Yeah, I love my tablet. It's great, and in everything it works fine, especially Photoshop. But what I
But
notice is in Manga Studio, I like, and you'll see I'm practicing with it now. I stopped, like, I'll make a stroke just to make a stroke. I've stopped making my stroke, but it's still making it on screen. I'm experiencing a huge drag in Manga Studio.
um, I've heard that, and there might be like specific settings. I wish there was a manga studio forum, and there might be somewhere.
I'm sure
There,
there is.
there, there definitely might be. I have never been a part of one, but yeah, just there are just certain things about it. I get a much quicker response time through Photoshop, and I'm using a Unova tablet, 19-inch screen, which
Right.
normally I would say I like better than the Cintiq. I think the pressure sensitivity is nicer. I think the distance between the stylus point and the actual screen is more advantageous. It doesn't have tilt pressure or tilt sensitivity, but since I'm not really painting, I don't really mind.
Right.
It's a great tablet. It works beautifully in Photoshop, but Manga Studio, I'm getting no love today.
Photoshop actually gives me kind of a lag sometimes. I'm not sure, maybe it's because of my tablet software, because I just operate out of a Bamboo Fun, which is like the cheapest one that you can get. But yeah, occasionally, I'm not sure, it might just be my computer, only because I've had this thing for a few years, and it's an Alienware, and it's not really the fastest known computer out there, but I don't know, I've experienced kind of what you're talking about in Manga Studio and Photoshop.
It's just such a shame because it could be such a fun tool to work with. And everyone has told me that I should really, especially for producing work on the level that we're talking about, that Manga Studio would be great for it. I might actually just go back to Photoshop and consider this an expensive lesson learned.
Yeah. Sometimes it is just a matter of people. I mean, people give bad advice all the time, and it's usually what they're thinking about is what they mention. It's like, yes, I worked on Manga Studio an hour last night. That's what you should use. It's like, how is that better for me?
Exactly.
My experience has been good with it, but I'm not deep into it, so
Right.
I hear a lot of people love it and use it well, but Photoshop has been around longer.
When was the first version of Manga Studio released?
I couldn't tell you.
It could be 5-6 years ago.
That's longer than I've been drawing, so I haven't remembered a time without it.
So, Pete, with your books, are you going for traditional release? Are you going for digital release? Or are you favoring one over another?
I'm sorry, repeat.
With the books that you're working on, how do you
Oh,
plan on releasing them?
when they get done. Yeah, that's when I plan on releasing it.
No,
Um,
how, not when.
they'll be a digital version. I mean, really, I'm going to focus on that when I get to it, but essentially like how everybody else does. I'm sure eventually I'll be on Comixology. There's what is Kablam's digital thing.
Comics or something?
Is it Kablam? Well, is Kablam the
Oh, Kablam is the printer, yeah.
Okay, Kablam is the printer, but don't they have a digital setup release thing? I'm not even sure.
See, yeah, that I'm not sure, but I know that they have their affordable printing.
There's a number of different ones that most small publishers use, and so I'll eventually put it out through each of them. It's just initially I'll have it as a print version,
Right.
and that will be through Kablam because I've seen enough Kablam books to be happy with the result.
Right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Kablam books. I'm actually considering going through. There's a company called Kraken Print.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, Jacob Way. He has come up with what I think is an awesome business model in that he can get high quality printing at low prices for us, the creators, by utilizing overseas, printing setups. The quality has been awesome from what I've seen. Kablam has been really good too. Um,
I'll look into it.
yeah, it might be worth it, just at least cost wise. As far as like digital distribution, though, I thought about Comixology, but I have a real beef with DRM. I don't really like digital rights management at all. And I'm thinking that I might avoid that and then just sell the different formats through the website. I'm not quite sure yet, but it really depends.
Yeah, but you can go that route. I mean, the advantage of going through Comixology is reaching an audience that you might not reach.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's nothing to stop me from selling through Comixology as well as releasing DRM-free versions through the website.
Although, at the same time, on the same note, if you have a book or, let's say, 100 books on Comixology, it doesn't mean any of them will be seen.
Right, exactly.
Because it's sheer, mind-blowing numbness to find anything on there.
Right. And they're not going to promote, Keith's
Yeah.
book number 1.
Oh, yes, they will.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the Comixology at this point, but if they are a necessary evil, I'll take a look at them.
Yeah, it's, a lot of small publishers I've seen, and I haven't looked too deeply because I'm mostly focused on the creative end right now. But it seems like anybody who's a small to small medium publisher tends to use a lot of similar outlets. A lot of them go through Comixology. A lot of them use Diamond Distributing, and it seems like, well, they're using everything. Part of it seems like, well, they have no focus, and that's why they're not getting numbers. But part of it is like, well, they're using all the different avenues to reach more people. Or another part of it is also the viewing experience is only had through XYZ, but not ABC.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. Like, I'd rather just, like, print one way and digital distribute one way and be done with it. But I realize, like, there's different opportunities to be had by doing it different ways.
Sure, and it's always a good thing to be open to the new and varied ways that you can get your ideas and your work out there. But when you're looking at a Comixology or a Diamond distributor, just to hit both formats, the chances of being seen, as you said, I mean, everyone's looked through a previews catalog. I could have had 10 books in there and no one would have any idea because it's just a small blip in 1,000 pages of content. And Comixology is very similar in terms of, people are going to Comixology and they're looking for Marvel books, they're looking for Image books, they're looking for IDW books, DC books if DC's going through there. I don't know because I don't use Comixology.
Yeah.
they're looking for all the main companies. I don't see many people spending the time trolling through all the independents, and especially with Diamond, unless you hook up with a major independent, you're just going to be lost in the shuffle. So, I kind of see a guerrilla marketing campaign being the way to go. Sell it through the website, sell it at shows. We've got enough people in our studio to pretty much have coverage over most of the country. We're just missing extreme West Coast, but that won't be too difficult to beef up because we have friends and relatives out there who would love a chance to go to a convention with a badge, sit there and hawk some stuff. But yeah, I'm looking at the distribution methods and avenues, and I'm just not seeing a lot of love for the new guy. Not as bad as it was 10, 15 years ago, but
yeah, it's a little easier to get the word out and distribute the books, and because it's not physical items always, is now shipping or truck shipping it out. You have to worry about. But I mean that's it's the same in anything. It's like until you really make a name for yourself, you're not gonna get even noticed, let alone special, privileges because you're somebody famous.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm kind of apprehensive about, only because my parents, like, they're supportive, but my mom's especially nervous for the first few years, like, how are you gonna get a job and everything like that. So, yeah, and I've heard from people. I went on a tour of SVA, and they were saying, like, it's pretty much guaranteed that you're gonna have at least maybe 5 years of, like, kind of fickle work or whatnot until you finally get your name kind of concrete where people actually know you.
wait, what did they mean by 5 years of fickle work?
Like kind of work where it's like you kind of get work here and there, but until where people kind of recognize your style and who you are as an artist, then it's going to take like maybe 4 or 5 years. I mean, I'm not sure if maybe you guys have a different opinion, but that's what I've heard.
Well, I mean, I think it depends. I'm kind of surprised as someone who went to SVA and loves it. I'm kind of surprised that that's the opinion that they have. Because
It was just one student who told me, so maybe it was just their opinion.
oh, okay. I thought it was SVA's opinion, which I was.
No, it wasn't like an official from SBA. It was just a student who was giving a tour.
Okay.
He should shut his mouth.
Yeah.
He should stick to pointing out where the cafeteria and the bathrooms are.
Yeah.
And stop.
Yeah. It's good to hear, though. I'm happy for that, then.
Yeah, no, you know what it is? You're gonna get jobs based on your motivation and your ability to promote yourself.
Yeah.
I have a friend who used to work as one of Romita's Raiders for the Marvel offices. He's a very talented penciler. He did a couple of stories for Marvel way back in time. It never went anywhere, and it's not because he's not talented, it's because he has no ability to market himself. And there are other people that are, in my opinion, and just in my opinion, less talented or less gifted in the areas of storytelling, but they're very good at promoting themselves and they work all the time. So, I honestly think that the ability to sell yourself is as important, if not a little more important, than your ability to draw.
Well, I heard actually from, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in one of the previous Hangouts, but I heard from a Psycra cast or whatnot, or I forget who I heard this from exactly, but they were saying there are like 3 or 4 main qualities that you need to get a job in the comic industry, and I think one of them was skill, but all of the other ones were promotion, being a decent person, getting things done on time, and even if like you're not the best artist, if you can say that like you always meet a deadline, then you'll get work probably over someone who's a really good artist, but they're kind of a little bit off on reaching their deadlines.
I would say that that's closer to accurate than anything else. Absolutely.
Hmm.
I would say, I realize like you're specifically doing your own project right now. You're starting, what do you call it?
The zine.
Not many, yeah, right. That you need to, like, if you want to get hired by publishers down the line, if that's something you're seriously considering, I would take jobs today and, like, put 1,000% into working with people, into the actual job, into finishing it on time. This way, when you are absolutely serious about going full-time and working with publishers, if that's something you're going to be doing down the line, that you not only a portfolio of work, but a stack of recommendations of people you work with.
True. Maybe I can put an ad in, like, as tacky and corny as it sounds, in, like, a paper or something. Or, like, online.
An ad for what?
Like, I don't know, like, art or something with, like, an example. Probably more online, that would be better, like, if anyone needs an artist. Or I know people in my school, there's actually I'm going into AP Studio Art next year, and I know that there are some organizations that kind of go around high schools, and if, like, they need a project for, like, the elementary school or something like that, like, to paint murals, they'll sometimes ask us. So maybe I can work with them. I know that's not comics related, and I should probably... And I do have a few connections in the comic book field to maybe try maybe internship somewhere. But, yeah, I guess there are a few ways I can start actually working with people.
Yeah. Yeah, because that definitely won't hurt. And I know like people's opinions about LinkedIn are are iffy, but it's mostly a business-oriented site. But there's tons of comic book people on there, and it shows a history of who you work for and how long, and depending on how detailed you make your profile, like specifically how, what you did and whatnot. I have a profile up there, and I just think, it's not, mine isn't very specific, but I work for major companies. That's all people care about, whatever. I think it's a good thing to set up, building your work history, and you can have recommendations over there. You could set them up and do specific skills as well, and so I think that wouldn't hurt you to set up something like that.
Yeah, why not? I'll do that later today.
But yeah, there's a lot of what we touched on in this last half that we can talk about for many episodes. I think I might be closing this out soon because I'm gonna get dinner. I got a podcast to put up. I got my 30 minutes to work on, and then jump on to the other hangout later today, and then after that, I'm taking the night off. It's been crazy busy, but I did want to do a shout out to Kevin, the founder of our our little 100th days of making comics. He's got his final 100th day tomorrow, I believe,
Yes.
is how it comes out. And he's done an incredible job of not only doing his 100 days, but really forming a community and promoting everybody else in turn. So yeah, just a tip of the hat to him. You guys got any closing notes? Anything you want to
See you at the
comment
Artcasters.
on?
No, thanks for having me. This was fun. It was very good. I like talking
Yeah.
about my work.
My
So
pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's why I designed this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely nice to have people that actually like know what they're talking about and know the work, because I don't really have too many artist friends at my school and whatnot, or even like I have absolutely no one else who does comics. I'm like the only person I know, so it's pretty cool to like finally talk about it.
Well, I've said this before. It's like I don't know anybody in town other than my girlfriend's family and her friends. So close by, there's no comic people I know of. So this is an amazing way for me to get in touch with people with similar interests and skill. And Scott, if you're here,
Yeah, I just
hearing
turned my
us,
mic back on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
You guys
So you
can hear
want
me?
to say anything
Okay.
before we shut down?
Okay. Maybe I'll see some of you guys at the Artcasters hangout. I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but nice seeing you guys. Nice meeting you, Keith.
nice meeting you too.
Where do I find you online, or
Colossalarts.com is the website. We should have it up next week. But I'm also on Facebook at Colossal Arts Multimedia.
All right, cool.
Hey Keith, clean your elbow. You got some dirt on it.
No, we got the sleeve almost done. And now we're starting work on another one.
Nice.
Can't see my arm doesn't twist that way. Priorities.
Yes. Okay, so yeah, this will be Studio Synergy 7. I'll post it up. I'll put links, if not right away, then later today. And you can watch any past episode, or you can join me for future episodes. I'm going to be doing this once a week, and this will be a rotating show, so different days, different hours. But you can always check my events. Just follow my G+ page, and you'll see them pop up. So yeah, thanks everybody for coming, and this is end of broadcast.